When the daughter looked out the back window as they were driving away, she saw something that completely terrified her. She became hysterical. And even after they were away from this object, when they were, the kid was still freaking out. They couldn't control her. She wouldn't calm down. Apparently, according to the story, she ended up in the hospital for a week trying to recover from this encounter. She was so traumatized. It was 1977. Edna Owens and her 4 children were out busily shopping at a local grocery store. They had planned to return home and get busy making supper before settling in for some TV watching in bed. Sadly, this would not come to pass. While returning home, they would find themselves being stalked by something seemingly not of this world. This is the Owens family encounter. June 1977, Edna Owens and her 4 children, Donna 11, Regina 16, and 2 others, who were not named, had spent some time shopping at a grocery store in the small town of Telford in Washington County. After getting their needed supplies, they promptly loaded up the car and made for home, a rural spot in eastern Tennessee. It was dark out. Behind the wheel, Edna was the first one to notice a light above a field not far from their home. It seemed to vanish, and then it was there again, this time even closer to their home. She thought that it was a little odd, but didn't say anything to her family. It looked like a falling star, but then it came down again, she noted. Just as she saw the light for the second time, her oldest daughter, Regina, also spotted it and chimed in her excitement. By now, everyone in the car was looking at it. Intrigued by what they were seeing, Edna pulled off the road to watch it. They described it as a, quote, great big light that went around, quote, like a spotlight. They estimated that it was about 500 feet from the house. We got kind of scared and I said, let's go to the house. As if overhearing the conversation in the car, the object seemed to react in real time. It started moving over to the house too, Edna recalled as she and the kids drove the dark back road up to it. The whole thing was becoming eerie. Upon pulling up to the driveway, Edna and the kids started frantically unloading the groceries, keeping an eye on the object, which was now hovering over a small pond about halfway between the house and the barn. None of the family had any idea what it was, so they quickly rushed up to the house and got inside. For some reason, they thought that if they turned off all the lights in the house, that the object would lose interest and go away. They offered no explanation on how they came to this conclusion. As it turned out, this seemed to have the opposite effect. It was cloudy and dark outside, but in 2 or 3 minutes the whole house lit up, and I knew it was over top of the house. I was standing in the hall when the lights started revolving around the house. I could sense rather than see that something was over the house, Edna recalled. At that moment, the family suddenly heard a strange sound that frightened them to their core. It's hard to describe. It was kind of crackling and popping, like electricity. The whole thing was becoming too much for the mother of 4. She made the decision that it would not be safe to remain there any longer. They needed to get away. I guess I kind of panicked then. I told the kids we were getting out. She gathered her kids up and huddled them at the door. Before rushing outside, she warned them. I told them not to look up or back. She worried that if they saw the object, they might become hysterical. They were not hallucinating, nor were they imagining it. Something unnatural was outside their house, and it wanted them. It was real, and everyone was terrified beyond words. Regina made it out the door first. She admitted that she was too scared to look up. She made it to the car in seconds and was shocked, literally. I jerked open the door, and as I touched the handle, I got a shock. That really scared me. When they were standing there in this dark house, all of a sudden it lit up. The house lit up. And so she knew that this object was now over the house. And she got the sense that, it wasn't safe to be there, and that, that they needed to be around other people. So she made the decision to leave, that, get the kids in the car and get out of there. And even though she was taking a risk by doing that, she felt she would be safer in the presence of other people. So it was a mad scramble as everyone piled inside. Donna made the mistake of looking out the back window of the car, and what she saw caused her to completely freak out. It's right behind us and on top of the car, she screamed. Edna got the car started and tore off down the dark stretch of road. The object stayed with them, following behind just a few feet above the car. It would not let up, like an animal stalking its prey. It followed them for miles, only pulling back when Edna and her family neared the country store. It stopped about 200 feet away and stayed there for about 10 minutes. Then it just disappeared. It didn't go up, it didn't go down, it just vanished, Edna noted. Even after it was gone, 11-year-old Donna Owens was so terrified that she became hysterical, would not calm down. She had to be hospitalized for a week. Susan Bedrick of Midnight Magazine heard about the case and reached out to Edna Owens about featuring her family's UFO story in their magazine. A magazine mostly populated with celebrity gossip and in-depth horoscopes. Edna ultimately agreed, offering to have the magazine come to her house and interview them. Donna, who had only just recovered from the traumatic experience and was finally able to talk about it, was asked by Bedrick to describe what she saw when she looked out the back window of the car. It was over the house. There were blue lights on it, and it was round. It followed us. It was after us. When talking of trying to outrun the, quote, great big blue light, Edna admitted that to outsiders she probably sounded like a loon. I know I sound crazy trying to explain this, but I saw what I saw. She added, I never really believed in UFOs or took them seriously. Not until this happened to us, she told Bedrick. UFO literature has hundreds, if not thousands, of these types of reports, in which UFOs chase down cars or trucks, typically on lonely back roads. Is it the intention to take the occupants of these vehicles, or is it some kind of exercise in fear, to scare them and gauge the reaction? Certainly, if the UFO or its occupants wanted to take the family, then they most certainly could have. I previously covered a story in which a motorcyclist was followed home by an object that seemed to wait for him as he slipped inside an establishment. It's interesting that in so many of these types of cases that people's first instinct when being chased by one of these objects is to get around other people as soon as possible, as if understanding that multiple eyes, simply acknowledging it, will deter its approach. It's like we understand almost subconsciously that the only thing these objects fear is recognition. In some cases, the reality of its existence seems to be its greatest enemy.